So you all thought we were done with the weekly Super Smash Bros. Ultimate discussions. Psych! We're not, because we're back for at least one more, because with it being roughly a week since the game's launch, I wanted to get us all together, minus Derek, because he's out somewhere, who knows what Derek's doing, and I wanted to discuss our thoughts on the game so far. Obviously, I already posted my review, so you all know how I thought, or how I think about the game. But with that said, I've still had a week more with it since then, and we haven't really gotten John or Ash's thoughts on the game so far. So yeah, I thought it'd be good for us to get together and just discuss the game more in depth, go over, our thoughts on the online, World of Light, general gameplay experiences, and everything else about this game that we haven't had much of a chance to talk or to touch on since its release. So let's go and start off with just our general impressions so far. John, how are you feeling on the game so far?
I still barely feel like I've done anything.
Right?
I've been playing like constantly since this game's come out. I've done tons of World of Light, tons of online, just tons of Smash. And yeah, there's still just so much to do. And even today, I went into a mode I'd never done before, which is the what's it called? What's the tournament mode called where you have like different stocks, you change characters?
Squad Strike.
Yes, I went to Squad Strike for the first time. I've had this game for a week and I've never touched that.
Right?
There's just so much you can do, and yeah, I'm not even sure if I've done every stage yet. There's just so much stuff in this game. It's going to last a very long time.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Ash?
I'm basically right in the same boat. I've had the game for a week, actually a little more, because I was lucky enough to get it at a store that broke street days, so I actually got it a couple of days early. But those days were spent recording compilation footage for the channel. and beyond that, I had a launch party, which was a ton of fun. But in the days since, I've just been recording more footage, and I don't really feel like I've had that much time to really sit down with the game and explore every part of it. Like I've dabbled in a lot of different parts. Like I've done Squad Strike, I've done a round of Smashdown with a friend, and I've done some Spirit Board, I've done some World of Light, but I don't really feel like I've really dug in yet. And like you were saying, John, I don't think I've even played on every stage yet, technically. So I have completed Classic Mode because I had the Marathon Classic Mode for that Classic Picture compilation, and that was a lot of fun. I do think Classic Mode is the best it's ever been. It's not as fun to marathon it, of course, but it was still, I can divorce the fact that I had to marathon it from how I feel, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely the best Classic Mode has ever been. But yeah, overall, I've been having a great time. I will say that my general hype level probably isn't quite what it was for Smash 4, because I do feel that Smash Ultimate isn't quite as large a jump from Smash 4 as Smash 4 was from Brawl. That's nothing to say against Smash Ultimate. I'm having an amazing time with it, and it's probably going to end up being my favorite Smash, but I'm not quite as moment-to-moment over-the-moon hyped as I was when Smash 4 came out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Like, I love the Smash Brothers series, obviously, and I do think this is the best Smash Brothers game, right now at least. As I said in the review, I really don't think there's an argument out there that can present it as anything but the best Smash Brothers game. With that said, I mean, I do agree, like, in the sense that my hype wasn't quite as through the roof as it may have been for past games. Just because, I mean, with it being the sixth game in the series, effectively, with if you count the 3DS one separately, it's just like the hype kind of wears out over time, I think, a little bit. And it is, in many ways similar to Wii U. But with that said, I mean, that is still kind of selling us short, because after going even more hands-on with it, I'm starting to appreciate the differences even more to the Wii U, whereas it may look similar and maybe feel similar at first, there are a lot of differences here that I am really finding the moment-to-moment gameplay even more enjoyable than I did on Wii U, just in terms of how it plays, and even, general presentation, and even the modes. Like, even though they cut back on some of the modes, the ones that are still there, they really kind of focused in on, and I love it. And the stages, the characters, like, there are still freaking characters in this game I've barely touched. I mean, as again, I said in the review, if you spend even just 20 minutes with all these characters, that's a full freaking day right there. So yeah, there's definitely some more characters I need to play as. Like, I've barely touched Mewtwo, I've barely touched Lucario, I've barely played as Ken, for instance. There is so much here that you can just spend forever with. Which is why in the review, I left the door open. Like, I'm like, at this point in time, I'm liking this game a lot. But I'm like, you know what? After a few months, I could, maybe I'll end up loving this game. But it doesn't matter what my score is. I still think this is really, hands down, the best Smash Brothers game, just in general.
I was saying prior to launch, like, I wish they had like home run contest and break the targets, but like playing the game now, I don't miss that stuff.
Yeah, do you miss it?
There's so much more to do. Even just like the base roster, there's over 70 characters, and as Andre just said, playing as all of them, like if you spend 20 minutes all of them, that's basically an entire day.
Yep.
There is so much to do. And when it comes to fighting, I tend, so far, I tend to gravitate towards characters that weren't in Smash Wii U. So my mains at the moment are Ridley and Pichu. Because obviously Pichu hasn't been in the game since Melee. And not only is he back, but he's better than ever. Pichu is a god in this game. He's so good. And when you compare the rosters to Smash Wii U, obviously, yeah, a lot of them are back, and a lot of them are kind of similar in their movesets. But just bringing back all those Melee characters and those characters cut from Brawl, it feels so different. Even Snake feels different. The Snake's missiles are really fast now. And just the moment-to-moment gameplay feels very different to Wii U. Wii U was kind of a defensive game, I guess.
Right.
A lot of characters would just sort of roll around and shield a lot. But you're kind of punished for shielding in Smash Ultimate. This kind of gameplay rewards aggressive behavior, I feel.
Yeah, especially given the fact that you lose invincibility frames if you dodge too much consecutively, which I think is a fantastic change that discourages people.
And not just that, it actually slows down your roll.
That too, yeah. So, I mean, just in general, I think that is such a fantastic change to discourage people playing too defensively and turtling, and I love that change. And, yeah, I agree. While out of the gate, I didn't necessarily feel the changes as much. The more I play the game, the more I can see just how different this game is from Smash 4 in lots of good ways. And I actually went back and played Smash 4 just to kind of see how I felt about it, and I still really enjoy that game. I don't think this game completely suddenly invalidates Smash 4, but of course, I agree with you, Andre. I don't think there's any seriously valid argument to be made for this being anything other than the best Smash game, and just in terms of sheer content, on top of the fact that the gameplay is more balanced and just accessible than it's ever been, in my opinion.
It doesn't invalidate Smash 4, but at the same time,
It kind of
I don't
does.
feel like I need to go back to Smash 4. I'm never going to have that feeling where I say, I've got to do Smash Tour.
Well, that's
I
true.
don't feel that.
I guess what I mean is it doesn't automatically just make it like a bad
Right.
or worse game. It just means,
Right.
yeah, but I have no reason to go back to it either. I see what you mean.
This isn't Smash 4 Deluxe. It still feels like a mechanically different game. And I guess Smash 4 still has its merits in that respect, but at the same time, as you guys were saying, this isn't the same as the jump from Brawl to Wii U or Melee to Brawl. It's more iterative, but at the same time, there still are differences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a big part of the genius actually of Smash Bros. Ultimate is, even though a lot of the content is familiar with the stages and the roster, they found ways to kind of recontextualize it and make it a little bit more interesting. We already touched on some of the ways, such as with the new modes like Squad Strike and Smashdown. They also have the Final Smash meter, which is a pretty big game changer if you play with it. It's a lot of fun. And then even other features like turning off hazards or the stage morph, where you can play in multiple stage or 2 stages at a time effectively. These little changes, they go a long way in making this game feel distinct and making existing content feel new. And that's not even to mention the upgrades that a lot of the existing content already got. And also, a lot of the returning characters, they feel pretty different too. I mean, surface level, they're all very similar, but if you're at all familiar with these characters originally, there are a lot of tweaks there that even playing as old characters feels fresh.
Yeah.
I think we've said in the past that a lot of the DLC characters for Smash Wii U kind of felt a little unbalanced, like Cloud and Bayonetta were some of the best characters in the game, and it feels like they've been a lot more balanced to work within the rest of the roster now, which I really love.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not, of course, a super competitive, talented player, but, I do follow the competitive scene, and the general feeling seems to be that this is, at least so far, in these early days, the most balanced Smash game out of the gate. I mean, Smash 4 was very balanced prior to the DLC, mostly, but then you got the DLC, and then you have Cloud and Bayonetta, and they just completely dominated the roster. And then Cloud got nerfed, and then Bayonetta just completely dominated the whole game. But, having played Cloud and Bayonetta here, they both have been nerfed to an appreciable degree, especially Cloud's range. I can't do the same things with Cloud in Smash Ultimate that I could in Smash Wii U, and I think that's a good thing. Cloud and Bayo did need to be nerfed, especially Bayo. And, kind of to touch on what you were saying, Andre, so even some returning fighters feel completely different.
Yeah.
I tweeted about this a couple of days ago, but I love and I'm a huge fan of everything about Zelda in this game. Her design, her buffs, everything about Zelda in this game is absolutely awesome. And you also have characters like Link, who technically, yeah, they're pretty similar, but he still feels different. It's the Breath of the Wild version. His remote bombs kind of change up his playstyle. I've seen some crazy tech with remote bombs in terms of Link's recovery. And yeah, even returning characters feel pretty pretty different in some cases, and I think that's a lot of fun. It almost feels like rediscovering the roster in a way.
Yeah, I love how distinct every single Link is, because there's 3 Links in this game. And Breath of the Wild Link has a much longer Master Sword, so his range is just better than all the other Links. And then you said remote bombs, obviously that's huge, like people are doing crazy things with those. But even Toon Link and Young Link feel very different. Like Toon Link's a bit more floaty, and I think some of his like standard jabs are quite different to Toon Link's as well. To Young Link's as well, I mean. So yeah, there's just a lot of differences going on with characters that were quite similar in past games. When they announced they were bringing back Young Link, I kind of thought, like, what's the point? Because Toon Link kind of was Young Link. But yeah, they've managed to make them feel distinct, which is quite impressive.
That's pretty impressive. What do you guys? How do you guys feel about Primary Link now, or Link Prime, if you will? Because it's probably just me not having spent enough time with him yet. But I'm so used to how his bombs used to work that I just cannot get used to this guy. Like, I have to go back to either Toon Link or Young Link because I need my hook shot, I need my bombs that explode in impact. Just trying to detonate them after throwing them is too much for me right now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was never a big fan of classic or OG Link just because of his weight and just the way he feels. I've never been a big Link player. I've always gravitated toward Toon Link myself. I think that's the best Link, both in terms of a character standpoint and a Smash standpoint, and I feel that way in Ultimate as well. I'm absolutely gravitating more toward Toon Link and Young Link, just because I'll still make that mistake where I'll try to do a hookshot grab with regular Link, and that won't work because he has a regular grab now. And I haven't wrapped my head around the remote bombs yet. They don't feel, I know the utility they can have, I just personally am not feeling them. And I gravitate more toward Toon Link.
Well, I think Standard Link is considered one of the best characters in the game at the moment.
I think so.
I've lost to a lot of Link players online. I like the new changes. I think they make him feel very different and very, like, he's definitely Breath of the Wild Link with these remote bombs. And yeah, he's not my best character, but I have had some quite good rounds with him. But yeah, there's definitely a learning curve. But I do appreciate that they've sort of changed his moves up a little bit. But yeah, the lack of grab is the hard thing to get your mind wrapped around.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing as this Link since like 1999. And it's just so weird to have, like, not have that hookshot anymore. She can't even tether anymore, which just feels kind of tricky, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And I want to stress that even though I'm not used to Link, I love that they changed him at all. I still wish they'd gone even farther with him to make him more like Breath of the Wild, but I do appreciate the changes they made, especially with there being 2 other Links. You know, it makes sense to differentiate them to some degree. So what are you guys' like? Who are you finding yourselves maining so far? Because John, you were talking about Link apparently being one of the best players so far. I've been hearing that a lot about King K Rool as well, and that's been my early main so far, and not for that reason, but just because King K Rool is freaking awesome. I love this guy. I've always loved him. I wanted him in Smash, and now I'm playing as him, and he's a lot of fun to play as, even with him being a heavyweight, and apparently he is also just a really good character all around. So who are you guys gravitating towards so far at this point?
K Rool is really, really good. I love all the newcomers, but I've not really touched Incineroar yet. I kind of need a bit more time with Incineroar. But I love Ridley. Ridley is really, really good in this game. And I think I've seen a few people say that Ridley, they think he's kind of bottom tier. But I think you can do some really good stuff with him. He has a very long range, especially in the air, because his tail just reaches really, really far. And you can sort of do fake outs with his special too, where he launches fireballs. And you can either do that to try and damage opponents, or you can sort of launch one and then sort of, like, because they're quite slow moving, you can just sort of go into a dash immediately. And so while they're shielding, you can just dash them and immediately hit them. So Ridley's kind of, you can do mind games with Ridley, which I love for his character, because he's just this murderous psychopath. And they've put him really well into Smash. His personality comes through really well too. So I love Ridley for, like, character purposes, and his moveset just feels really good too.
Yeah, I mean, of course, for me, this isn't going to surprise either of you, but I'm still maining Mega Man, of course, and that's always going to be the case. And I love the buffs he's gotten. His pellets go further now, which I can just terrorize people from even greater distance now, which is great. His forward air flame sword can now kill, which I love. It wasn't a particularly effective move. It was fine, but it wasn't amazing in Smash 4, and it made it a lot better here. Leaf Shield's utility has changed, so that's been a lot of fun. But other than Mega Man, I've been really enjoying Ness, Lucas, Roy, and Lucina. All 4 of them feel great in this game, and I've been playing them a lot. But in terms of newcomers, I have to say, not only am I not good with K Rool, I can see why he's good, and he's definitely considered one of the best, but I can't get anything done with him because I'm not good with heavies. However, I am loving Inkling, and I've actually been hearing that she's considered one of the best as well right now.
I think everyone's just the best at this point.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody. Everyone's top tier.
Everyone is here and top tier. And yeah, I've really have been enjoying Inkling a lot. And out of all the newcomers, I have to say she's my favorite from a gameplay standpoint, I think by a pretty decent margin.
She's pretty fun.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. With K Rool, are you using the projectiles?
Yes, I am. I'm trying. It's more about the movement and the weight for K Rool. I've never been good with heavies in general, so that extends to Bowser, King DDD. But, you know, K Rool has that crazy good recovery, especially for a heavy. So I can see myself getting better with him, but I definitely need to spend more time with both him and Ridley to see if I can, you know, get a little better with them, because I'm not doing too well with either of them right now. And I'm in the middle on Simon and Richter because I want to play them, I enjoy them, but their recovery is so bad, and I'm not particularly great at tether recoveries. I've never needed to be. I've never was a Samus main. I was never a Link main, so I never really needed to get good at tether recoveries. But if I want to play Richter or Simon, I'm gonna have to, because their up special is absolutely awful. And it's actually because of how awful their recovery is that I was able to get my one legendary spirit so far, because I was able to take advantage of the fact that their recovery is terrible and get Simon far enough off stage that I was able to get the Alucard spirit, which was a cool thing to get.
Yeah, their recovery isn't great, but as you said, once you got tethering into your mind, they aren't that bad. Like, their whip goes really far. I found Richter and Simon really helpful in World of Light. Like, there's some particular boss fights where you're sort of facing giant versions of characters who basically have super armor on, and they're very tricky to deal with most characters. But with Simon, you can just sort of throw holy water down, you can just throw axes, and they're really easy to deal with from a distance. In fact, there's one fight, which I think is Dr. Wily's spirit, where you fight like 8 different Mega Mans, and they're all metal. And Simon and Richter are really good for that fight. Like, you can just stay in the corner and just lob things at them.
Nice.
Well, that might be a good segue into World of Light. We were talking about this just briefly before the discussion, before I cut it off. And I'm like, no, we should save this for the discussion proper. John, so you were telling me a little bit about how your thoughts have evolved a bit on this mode since you started playing it. So do you want to share those with everyone?
Sure. So, yeah, I started playing World of Light, and I was like, what's Andre talking about? This is really fun. And I'm making my way through, and I was still having fun. Like seeing all these spirits and the interesting things they've done with them is always impressive, but it gets to a point, maybe 8 hours in, maybe 10 hours in, where you just start to have enough. And I am playing this in short bursts. I'm not playing this just, like, dedicatedly. I'm doing other things in between World of Light. And, I'm just getting a bit sick of this. Like, yeah, the fights are still interesting. There's still some great spirits, which do a lot of interesting things with the characters. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just CPU fights.
Yeah.
And some of them do get interesting. And this is actually a critique in your review, Andre. You say, that, like, they have interesting components. Like, some of them have, like, lava pits or sleep gas or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can just use a spirit and get rid of that stuff. And yeah, it is fun to have those RPG elements, but it also just makes it a standard CPU fight.
Right, you can remove these matches are effectively event matches, but you can remove the event part from the match if you optimize your spirit set.
Yeah, so I'm just really fatigued with World of Light at the moment. I'm quite far in now, but I'm not entirely sure I'm feeling the will to continue.
Wow, how about you, Ash? How are you feeling so far?
I haven't quite burned down on it yet. I'm still actually toward the beginning of World of Light. I haven't been able to get that far in it, but I can absolutely see what you both are talking about. Like, I've probably only about 5 hours into World of Light, but even at that point, I'm still having a good time, and I'm looking forward to going back. But I wouldn't say the pull is necessarily all that strong for me to go back either. It's not like I dread it and avoid it, but I'm also not, like, raring to go back, and I'm only 5 hours in or so. And yeah, I can already feel the repetition kind of setting in, and I'm still having a good time, but it does feel like maybe there are too many spirits between point A and point B. When you want to get to somewhere, you see somewhere you want to go, like, okay, I'm going to go there, and you've got like a million spirit battles to go through before you actually get there. And so that's kind of frustrating. But at the same time, I will say that I do like that the challenge factor is there for some of the harder, like the Ace and Legend level spirits. Like, when you are not matched power level wise, you feel it, and you really have to like try your best, because you fight some 3-4 star spirits and you have a low level team, you're gonna have a hard time. And I do like that you can't just necessarily cheese your way through every fight in the game, but at the end of the day, they are just CPU fights. Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of lukewarm on it right now, I have to say.
You are absolutely right. There are challenging spirits, and some of them are interesting, but it gets worse as it goes on, I think. Because obviously, as you're playing through, you get more spirits, and the more spirits you have, the more scenarios that you can just clear. And you also get more characters. So once I got Pichu in World of Light, that challenge factor was gone. Pichu can just get rid of stamina matches in an instant. Like, some of his attacks just tear away through most of these characters. And I'd say like a good half of these battles are stamina. Like, these aren't just like regular Smash matches. And yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, when you start World of Light, it is challenging, and there's lots of different factors to take into account. But spirits just take that stuff away. Like, the more you get, the more simple it gets.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like I said in the review, or in my review, it makes a really good first impression. I stand by that. I mean, it's clear that so much like care and thought went into, in particular, the spirit battles, but even the the trappings of it, like the world map. Like, I love some of the details on it. We were just discussing, I guess these will be some slight spoilers, very mild spoilers, but some of the areas on the world map are actually legit awesome. I believe, John, you just got to the Donkey Kong section, right?
It's so good.
Isn't that great?
I won't detail it much, but it's so good.
Yeah, like
the best thing of World of Light is that area.
Like that, I love that. But before that one, I had come across the Street Fighter area, and I also love that. I'm like, holy crap! I'm like going around the world battling these Street Fighter characters through spirits, of course, and that was, or mostly spirits, and that was really well done. I'm like, that is neat, and I wish I had more of those moments. But I think, yeah. So for me, there's a few issues with World of Light. One, it just overstays its welcome. Like, they took too little, spread it way too thin. As you were saying, John, I think you just got, or were you saying that you just got to the 10-hour mark, I believe?
Well, that's when I start to feel fatigued. I think I'm in like 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
Now.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the 10-hour mark is exactly what I said in the review, like, where I wish it had started wrapping up. Like, that would have been a pretty solid campaign. It would have still had issues, a few issues, but had it wrapped up at 10 hours, my issues would be far less with it. But it keeps going and going and going, and all the spirit battles, for as clever as they are, they start to run together. And as you mentioned, it becomes easier to cheese them. And the weird thing about this mode, too, is it has way too many systems when it doesn't need that many systems. You can level up spirits at the gym if you want. You can send them out on explorations and come back and get the treasure they find. I did it all once to experience it, and you don't need to. It's not hard. I mean, the mode doesn't really feel balanced, as you already touched on as well, but it's not hard to level up a single spirit to level 99 instantly, but just by feeding a couple of, large candies. And then you can rely on, like for me, I was able to rely on mostly a single level 99 spirit in each of the 3 categories and just get my way through the end of the game primarily through that, while equipping the support spirits I needed in whatever matches that they were required in. So yeah, it's so weird. And you had the constant hitting brick walls that Ash mentioned that makes going around the world map just a little bit frustrating. Like, you want to get somewhere, but you can't. And then there's some great ideas in there again. Like, I love the idea of being able to solve puzzles, like we need a particular spirit, but because you can't see the spirits in advance of, before you basically battle them, there's really not any puzzle-solving elements involved, in that you just have to get the spirit you need, and it even tells you when you have the one you need to, it tells you where to go after that. So yeah, some great ideas there that just, it needed some more time in the oven, I think.
Yeah, and there's also a bit of cognitive dissonance there, where you'll get a spirit that logically would be able to get past the obstacle that you're being stonewalled by. Like, I'm trying to get into this metal factory area in the bottom left area of the map right now, and there's a locked gate that there's a mechanical gate. And I got the roll casket spirit right before this, and she's a mechanic. She should be able to open that gate, but she's not that one specific spirit that you need. And that's kind of annoying. Like, I wish each obstacle maybe had a handful of spirits that fit that theme that would work against that obstacle.
Yeah, I guess the concept of spirits in and of themselves, though, they are still really clever. There's still some really great spirit battles. Like the Geno spirit, that was so clever. Like, you fight the entire Mario RPG cast,
right,
and they have Kirby as Mallow. I did one earlier, which was Mega Man from Mega Man Legends. And one of his gimmicks was high gravity. And I was just thinking, it should be low gravity, because he's still on the moon.
No, it's so good. Yeah, I was actually going to say I was on a spirit board and it was just talking about certain spirit battles. I found X, which I was absolutely delighted to find X as a spirit. I figured he had to be, and he absolutely demolished me, and I couldn't have been happier. I'm like, he's a really strong, tough fight to beat. So I don't have X yet, but that was a really cool discovery that he is a tough fight.
Perhaps the worst thing about World of Light is just the fact that it made me annoyed with the battles when it's something I felt like I should have appreciated. Because they all started to run together after a while, and I kind of stopped caring what spirit I was even battling after hundreds of these. And I feel like it kind of takes away from the spirit board, but I almost feel like at this point the spirit board is a better way to experience some of those battles. But once I was done with World of Light, I didn't want to do any more of them. I don't want to see any more spirit battles.
It needs better pacing too. It takes way too long to get to a boss fight, and all the boss fights in Smash Ultimate are brilliant. I love all these bosses. But yeah, you don't really face off against them until way too late into World of Light. Mm-hmm. I guess it depends on what route you take, but it took me a long time. And even when I found a boss, it took a long time to then find the next boss. And I just wish they not only I guess they could have had more bosses. That might be the solution. But I wish they just spread them out a bit better.
I think it was over 10 hours before I even encountered a boss.
Jeez, that's crazy.
By the way, I did love, this might be a very slight spoiler again, so apologies, but it's minor. I did love how when you battle or when you go to battle, what's his name? Rathios? Rathalos.
Yeah.
I love that actually was a legit puzzle, kind of, where you had to direct him toward the actual battle arena. That was neat. I like that. If they had more moments like that, more frequently, again, this could have been something truly, truly special, I think.
Yeah, and I will say that, I haven't gotten there myself, so I can't say for sure, but I have heard from multiple different sources consistently that, pacing aside, if you can get through that the last couple of hours, like the ending and finale, apparently they're fantastic. Apparently it's worth the slog to get there, so I really do want to try to stick with it, because I want to experience this amazing finale, but it is kind of a slog, I have to say, and I'm only, again, about 5 hours in, and I'm still enjoying myself, but I can already feel that kind of repetition setting in, and to hear you, Andre, say that you were playing for over 10 hours before you even encountered your first boss, I do think maybe this is a sense of maybe they could have trimmed the fat a little bit and maybe made it a tighter, shorter experience and still, gotten what they wanted to out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go and talk about something a little bit more positive, or not, online. So this has been kind of a hot topic recently, of course, with a lot of people playing online. And it seems like the range of experiences is all over the place. Some people are having a pretty good experience, it looks like. I've seen others compare it to even Brawl's worst days, which seems to be, I haven't encountered anything like that, and I'm guessing there's definitely some hyperbole mixed in there. But I have encountered some matches that have been, pretty framey, but nothing on the level of Brawl's Online. And this is coming from a Brawl fan, by the way. But I didn't even bother with that game's online, once I saw how terrible it was. And so far for me, in my experience, I have to say I'm overall pretty pleased. I wish it were better, obviously. I wish it worked great all the time. But in my experience so far, which, hey, is still somewhat limited, maybe, I've only put maybe a few hours into the online in total, it's been pretty good so far. It's been pretty responsive, and there hasn't been too many hiccups. Don't get me wrong, with that said, there's still hiccups in almost every match, but they haven't annoyed me so far. So I don't know, and I said before on Twitter, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's legitimately better than Smash Bros. Wii U Online, which annoyed me a lot, or I've just changed, I've somehow become more tolerant of it. I don't think that's quite it, so I think it actually is better, but I haven't got back to check for sure, so... But what's your guys' experience been with online so far? Are you feeling it at all, or is it kind of annoying you like it has some other people online?
I am feeling it. I've primarily played Smash Ultimate Online so far, and my general experience has been really smooth. It's rare for me to have a framey match. Most of them are just smooth from beginning to end. Sometimes if you get a 4-player match, there will be just a moment or two where it stutters, but for the most part, I've had a great experience online.
I unfortunately hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but my online experience has been uniformly bad. And I'm wired in. I got a USB adapter. My Switch is hardwired in. I was able to play Smash Wii U with friends and such online with no lag whatsoever. That is not the case with Ultimate. All of my matches, now I haven't put tons of hours into online, but what I have played, I've had maybe half a second of input delay. The matches will slow down literally to a crawl and just freeze for 30 seconds at a time. It's been absolutely awful. And So in my experience, the online is across the board worse than Smash Wii U, and I don't see how that's possible because that wasn't very good. That said, I won't go so far as to say it's worse than Brawls. Like, Brawls was pretty terrible. This is definitely better than that, but yeah, and it's not even just the performance of the matches, it's stuff like preferred rules not actually carrying over into the match you get. And it just seems like it's a lot more difficult than it should be just to play Smash how you want to online. And Battle Arenas too. I was playing with a friend who lives in Kentucky, and I had played with this friend before, no problems, in Smash 4 and Mario Kart and whatever, but in Smash Ultimate, again, about a half a second of input delay. And it's just... I'm not impressed, to be honest. I think the online has a long way to go. Now, it could be my internet, but again,
Yeah.
Well, it could be, but again, I'm hardwired in, and I had no problems with Smash 4 to a degree. Of course, when you get some connections and 4-player matches in Smash 4, it's pretty terrible, and I had those experiences as well, but I'm having a worse experience with the same friends that I had good matches with in Smash Wii U. So I don't know what's up with that, but I have to say my opinion of the online so far is pretty negative.
Have you tried Smash Wii U recently, just on the off chance like that your internet has changed, perhaps?
I haven't, actually. I should go back and try that, but, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had any problems playing other things online. Like, I went back to play Mario Kart myself just to see, and Mario Kart was fine. Like, fine for Switch. I mean, I'd still get the occasional comm error, and that's just Nintendo. But it worked fine otherwise, so I don't know what's going on here. And it could be my internet, I absolutely admit that, so I'm not saying it's definitely the game, but it has been a worse experience across the board for me than Smash 4.
Yeah, it's hard to compare it against Mario Kart just because they're two very different types of online.
That's also true.
Mario Kart fudges it a lot of time. Like, a lot of games like fudge it, where, like, you know, the game keeps going whether or not you're getting getting input on what your opponents are doing. Smash doesn't do that. Smash waits for literally everyone to find out literally what everyone's doing, which you kind of need to in a game, in a fighting game, which is effectively like a faster-paced chess match. So that's why Smash gets hung up way more than Mario Kart does, for instance.
Now, that said, though, I'll say that I played some online ARMS, like not a whole lot recently, but when I was playing ARMS online, that was an incredibly smooth experience, and I was shocked by how good it was. And that's a fighting game, so... obviously it's a less complex fighting game than Smash.
I think ARMS fudges it too, in the same way
does
that
it?
Mario...
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it does. I don't think it depends on knowing where every character is every frame. So I think Mario Tennis, though, may use a similar method as Smash.
Okay, I don't have that personally, so I haven't tried that online. So yeah, it could be a number of factors. I'm definitely not concluding that it's the game's fault. Absolutely. All I can say is that my experience so far has been worse than Smash 4's, but I'm going to keep trying and keep going back into it, and I'm certainly not giving up on it or anything.
Well, you're definitely not alone, Ash.
Yeah.
A lot of people are complaining about online. And I think people are just having like two very different experiences, because I think Andre and I are pretty positive about this. And yeah, it's rare for me to have a laggy match. I think when Andre was streaming the game when on launch day, we did a couple of matches against each other, and our first match was a bit inconsistent, but after that, it was pretty smooth sailing from there on. So I guess maybe there just are inconsistent matches every now and then, and it could be you've just been really unlucky, and you've just been matched with all of these, like, inconsistent matches.
That is totally possible.
I think, what makes it tough with Smash is, a few different things. One, regardless of if you're in a 4-player match and 3 people have great connections, that does not matter if the 4th player has a crappy connection. That 4th player will drag down the other 3, and that really hurts perception of Smash in general. And also, I think with a couple other factors working against Smash Ultimate is, one, I think a lot more people are obviously playing it being on Switch. Which is good in the sense, and that increases the user base. But with Switch being a primarily wireless console, that means it's also prone to a lot more interference. Which is why Sakurai was, suggesting people play with the wired adapter. The thing is, a wired adapter is not really going to help you if everyone you're playing with also isn't using one. So that is kind of downside. You may be playing with people who are playing over Wi-Fi, which is a lot more susceptible to interference from other wireless devices, or even, I think, microwaves. My roommate was telling me how they used to play wirelessly on one of their consoles. I think it was an Xbox, and every time someone else in the house used a microwave, it would just shut down the connection completely.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Oh no.
So the Switch kind of like is an inherent negative, and that most people are going to be playing wirelessly. So yeah, I think there's multiple factors working against it. I think the biggest improvement Smash could make is introduce something along the lines of Mario Tennis, where it shows you like kind of the connection rating you have versus your opponent, and kind of give you a heads up as to like where the problem lies. Right now, no one knows if they have a good connection or not, so if someone has a bad connection, they're going to blame it on the online as opposed to it being their connection.
That's a really great idea, and there are preferences that you can set in Smash when you're playing online. But there's no preference to say, like, I want to play with people who are just in my region or worldwide. I think it automatically just matchmakes you with someone who's probably in your region, but I don't think you can like get the option to choose that specifically. And those preferences are kind of interesting too, because they're a place for fun and for glory. And you can basically say like, oh, I only want to do Final Destination with 2 stock and Smash Balls on. But when you do that, you're sort of they're trying to match you with people with very similar settings, and they patched it recently. But most of my experience, that didn't always work. So I would always have it on 2 stock with Battlefield form, and some with 2 people. And sometimes it would match me with 4 people in Omega form. It's like, this is not what I wanted. But yeah, there was a patch the other day which apparently fixed it, and they said matchmaking might be slower because of this. And every match I've had since then actually has fixed it, and my preferences have always been perfect since they're on. But matchmaking has not been slower. Like, it's just been instant. Like, it's exactly the same as it was.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. So, I mean, hopefully they'll keep improving it. I think matchmaking is the key to making the online work better in general. Like, if you can find more people close to you with the settings you want, I think that will improve a lot of people's experience. But again, if you have bad online, nothing Nintendo can do is going to help that. Moving on, let's talk about the new stages real quick, of which there are only 4, so I don't think it'll take us too long to get through these. How are you guys feeling about them in general right now? Like, so real quick, we have the Great Plateau, we have New Donk City, we have Dracula's Castle, and then, oh god, what's the 4th one?
Mori Towers.
Mori Towers, yes. So for me, I'm actually digging all of them, except for New Donk City. I actually don't like this stage much at all.
Wow.
I think...
That's a surprise.
I think it might just be because I find it boring. I think it's probably the least interesting thing they could have done with the stage, where you're just climbing a tower, which is something we already saw in that Pokemon stage, to some degree. And I think they could have made it a lot more interesting. Like, you're just riding the boring platform around through a kind of bland-looking area. And I wish they had gone farther. Like, I look back at my, or thinking back to a video I made where how they could incorporate New Donk City. Like, I wish there was a T-Rex there. Where's the T-Rex? Just come out of nowhere to eat you. Or even putting that aside, like, I wish there were taxis you'd avoid. Or, like, where you could get run over by the taxis. Or you could jump off the taxis to get more airtime, for instance. Or have, like, a touring stage around New Donk City. Any number of things that could have done more interesting, not even to speak of the idea of going to other stages in the game, with it being a whole odyssey. So yeah, that's the only stage I don't like. But on a more positive note, I love everything else. I like the Breath of the Wild. I like the Breath of the Wild stage. I think Moray Towers is a very unique design. And then even Dracula's Castle is just a really is just a cool stage to have. Like, I love how that looks in general.
It's funny, I'm actually the opposite,
oh, man.
mostly. The New Donk City Hall is probably my favorite of the 4 new stages, along with Dracula's Castle. Now, I will say that I agree with you, it's not a particularly original stage, and that is completely true. However, despite that, I do find it to be very fun, and it may be that I don't find the other 2 that fun. It's not that I find New Donk City Hall to be the best stage ever,
Right.
It's that I'm having a good time on it, whereas Moray Towers... It's okay. I don't love it. It's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's fine. I've had some fun matches on it, but it's not blowing me away. However, Great Plateau Tower, I don't like it. The fighting gets a little too cramped underneath the pillar, in my opinion. And, once it breaks, that's fine. But then when it's back, again, it just feels a little too cramped for me. And I'm not really feeling that stage. But Dracula's Castle, I like a lot. I have a great time with it. Of course, the music speaks for itself. All the amazing Castlevania music to choose from. It's awesome. And I like the way the stage looks, so yeah, I gotta say, in terms of fun factor, I've been having the most fun on Dracula's Castle and New Donk City Hall, but I do agree with you, Andre, that they could have done more with it and made it a little more original. But fun factor-wise, I've really been enjoying it, and I just love, it's great playing in that area and hearing Jump Up Superstar.
That's true.
I just love, I love that so much.
And the idea of collecting the musicians, that enhancing the music, is a really cool idea,
Right.
So I do love that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess in that sense I've had slightly the opposite experience of you, but in general I like the 2 of them, but yeah, Great Plateau Tower I'm kind of and Moray Towers I kind of go back and forth on.
Yeah, what's interesting is, there are 4 new stages, but I've been gravitating more towards the revamped stages, like the Melee stages.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, these 4 stages are really cool, but they're not my favorite. And I kind of feel the same with Ash on Great Plateau Tower. Like, I understand the gimmick of that level is the central tower is kind of shielding the view so you can't see your characters. I don't like that. It's an interesting gimmick, I don't really like it, and I prefer it when the tower's not there. So yeah, when playing that stage in like Battlefield form or Omega form, I love it. I love seeing how like vast Hyrule Field is. But yeah, in its default state, I just don't really like it that much. But I do like Moray Towers. I think that's a really interesting design.
Yeah.
It's great to have this very vertical stage, because the vast majority of Smash stages are either horizontal or just massive. Like, we haven't really had this vertical design before.
I remember, was it Smash Brothers Wii U where someone drew a diagram showing how like literally every stage they've been announcing for a while was like the same basic design. Like it was like a flat plane, a couple of platforms in the same basic area. I eventually they got more original stages in there, I think. But it was pretty funny at first to see like every stage was looking very similar for a while there.
Yeah, and I suppose that's one good thing we can say about the Ultimate stages, is each 4 of these are very distinct from one another. But yeah, New Donk City, I guess, is the most generic. Like, if you look at, like, Delfino Plaza, that's a brilliant stage.
Yeah.
They're touring across the entire island. And yeah, New Donk just feels small, and it shouldn't. Like, there's a lot to see in New Donk City. I wish we'd just have like a portion where there's just a bunch of humans walking by.
Right.
You can jump on their heads. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much you can do.
It's so weird how most of the stages whenever a stage is added to Smash Brothers, they usually add details. For New Donk City, they took away details.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just bored looking at it. So like Ash, you mentioned the music already. Like, how cool would it have been if it had been on the eve of the New Donk City Festival, for instance?
Oh.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when playing it in its like Omega form and Battlefield form, it doesn't feel that different to the Wrecking Crew stage, honestly. It just looks like a bunch of buildings.
You're right.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you're totally right.
That's fair.
I don't want to harp too much on it because, as you said, John, there are so many stages in this game, and so many of them are great, especially with how they've been upgraded. They look beautiful. I've been running a video series where I point out little details that you can't even see on the screen, like they're hidden outside the boundaries, so to speak, which you would ordinarily never see. Like, it's nuts how detailed this game is, and I love like the selection of stages here. Like, it's only through the series I've been doing where I've been exploring every stage that I've really had time, that I've really like finally played on all of them. I think because there are so many here. It's just crazy how much there is to do, and I love that. Like, if you don't like a stage or a handful of them, it doesn't matter. There's like 50 others for you to play on. So
Yeah, and
Congo's
there's just
Jungle. That's such a beautiful stage.
yes.
I just can't help but just sort of pause the camera and just admire it. Like, it's just so beautiful. And basically all the Melee stages, I think, are some of the best looking stages in the game. They've touched up the Brawl stages, they've added new textures, new lighting, they look great. But the Melee ones feel basically revamped from scratch, and they just look so good.
And
like Temple as well.
And the interesting thing
Ooh,
about
look
those stages is those look great originally. Like, at the time, they looked amazing. And then when you go
Yeah.
back, it's like, wow, they made huge upgrades to these. So I'm right there with you. But even the Brawl stages, too, also look great. Like, at Bridge of Elden, for instance, they completely redid that background.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic now. And other stages, like, it's a little bit more subtle, but like Halberd looks amazing, being as sharp as it is now. Delfino Plaza.
Yeah, I love
as well.
Halberd now.
Yeah,
the
right?
sky in Halberd is so dynamic now.
Yeah.
Like, back on Brawl, it was just this purple sky, whereas in Ultimate, there's so much going on. Like,
Yep.
It's so dynamic. The clouds are moving around, the shades are changing, and then the actual Halberd itself, you can see the materials. Like, there's just this metal plate on like Meta Knight's mask on the top of the ship. There's so much detail in this. And like, back when this was revealed, there were people out there saying this is just a port of Wii U. When you look at all the details in these stages, like, that's undermining the core of this game. Like, they really have gone ahead and basically remade every single stage ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to the Brawl version of Yoshi's Island 2. That was always a great looking stage, but seeing it here in high definition, it just looks even better, and it's one of my favorite stages just for its pure visual splendor. It looks really, really good.
I love that even more now. One of the secrets in Andre's video was that you look up at the sky and you see that moon from Yoshi's Island. Like, one of my favorite boss fights ever is just hiding in this stage, and I never knew.
Right? It's crazy. I love stuff like that. It's great. And this game is just chock full of just little details like that. And not even just in the stages, but like when it comes to the characters or movesets. or even when assist trophies will appear or when they won't, so to speak. Like, it just came out that,
Oh, right, yeah, so Alucard's assist trophy will not appear on the Wii Fit stage because he's a vampire.
So great.
And so his reflection cannot actually work in that
That's
stage.
fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
there's actually
great.
quite a few assist trophies in Pokemon that will not spawn. In fact, I think Cerebi has done a big list of them. For some of them are a bit random. Like, for some reason, you can't have, I think it was like Meowth will not spawn on certain stages, which is just so weird because Meowth should spawn everywhere. But yeah, I was actually testing this out myself. I was trying to see if you could spawn Knuckles on the Green Hill stage, and you cannot. Knuckles will not appear.
Interesting.
You cannot have Knuckles and Knuckles.
That's too bad.
Huh.
You need that lock-on technology for Knuckles and Knuckles.
Exactly. Talking about all the stages does remind me of a minor but surprising stage complaint that I have. And I preface this by saying this is one of the most just granular things, but I do find it kind of weird how inconsistently the game defines stage hazards. Because I turn stage hazards off because of the Yellow Devil. Screw the Yellow Devil, screw stage bosses, I can't stand them, and it makes Wily Castle fun. However, I keep stage hazards off, and then I pick something like Frigate Orpheon, and I love that stage because I love that it rotates and turns around. That's one of my favorite stages from Brawl, but that's considered a hazard. And so I have to go back and turn stage hazards on if I want to experience that stage the way it's, originally played. And again, I can't complain because Sakurai has given us everything we could possibly ask for. And I'm not seriously suggesting that he adds an option for us to turn stage hazards on or off stage by stage. That's crazy. However, I do wish there was maybe a slightly more unifying theme, like what constitutes a stage hazard versus what doesn't. But that was a complaint I didn't expect to have, but again, it's very, very minor, and it's not a big deal to go in and turn them back on when I want to play that stage.
I totally agree. Like, I like leaving stage hazards on for the most part, but it sucks when you end up on Wily's Castle through random, and it's with the freaking Yellow Devil. So I think there's two ways to kind of fix this. As you mentioned, make it level, stage by stage. You can individually adjust it for each one, which I think they could probably do just by adding it to the random selection screen they already have. Or you can choose what stage you're eligible to show up in random, or just add a toggle on the stage selection screen above, where you can choose what form of stage. Add the hazard toggle there too. So
that would be nice.
I think that'd be two pretty easy fixes for that. Or just remove Yellow Devil from the game. No one likes him. No one cares. And yes, I know there's gonna be one person in the comments being like, "I like Yellow Devil," so shut up.
Right. On the other hand, though, I will say that I recently discovered, probably several days ago, that you can now specifically pick the music track you want every time you pick the stage, and I love that.
That's great. That's a great feature.
That's so great. Yeah.
I do like that you can save your preferences for games too. Like, you can save that you want to have like a 3-stock match with items on, and you can just save that. And then do another playlist where you can have like a 4-stock match with items off. And it just makes it so like you're not fumbling through menus, and you can play with different people with different preferences just by selecting one item on the menu. Because usually that's kind of a hassle. Like, if people just want to play with items off, like usually items will save, but things like Smash always defaults to time usually, which is what most people do not play. So it's great that you can just save stock and just always play stock.
I do agree. Like, I do like the playlist screen. At the same time, that's not really it's not really solving the issue I really had too much. And there are times when I wish, or when I miss the simplicity of how it worked before, where you could change it from time to stock, or even the amount of time or amount of stocks right on the state or on the character select screen. As I recall, you can change it right there, but now you have to back out or click the rules options, go into find the rule set you want to adjust, change it there, or make a new rule set. You gotta rename it, and I actually find it oftentimes takes me more time than it would have originally. Particularly with how the playlist or whatever that screen is, a rules screen, doesn't list every option I need to see. Like, it doesn't mention if the hazard toggle's on or off, for instance.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
I kind of feel that too.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ash.
Oh, I agree with you. I do find that setting your rules just feels like a bit more obtuse in general. Mm-hmm. It's not horribly confusing, but it's not necessarily as instant and as obvious as it has been in previous Smash games. So I've had that exact same experience, Andre.
I wish I had both. Mm-hmm. The rule set is a great idea, have that, but keep the temporary options we can change just on the fly, where it won't change the rule set. The rule set just starts off as a base, and they can adjust it on the fly from that point. Like, I think that'd be a great compromise. So, again, minor details, as you were saying with your stage hazard complaint, Ash, but hey, we're getting into it now, so...
I do really like that you can choose your stage before the character now, because like Moray Towers is a very vertical stage, and I think it's better for characters who are lightweight and can move around quickly. So if I were to choose Ridley, for instance, it's great that I can match I can match my characters to the stage choice rather than sort of going in blind. So I wouldn't really choose Ridley if I'm on Moray Towers, whereas if we're on something like the Urban Clock Tower, then the Umbran Clock Tower, then I probably would choose Ridley. So yeah, I really like. That's a very small change, but it adds a lot to just how you're going about matches.
Another great change. I love the very slight delay they added on when you choose or when you select a stage. You have there's a very slight delay before it goes to the character select screen, giving you just enough time to back out and redo your stage selection if you chose the wrong one, for instance. I love that. It's great. Well, I think we've covered most of it so far. Is there anything else about Smash guys you want to bring up before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of complaints. Well, we have some complaints about certain elements of Ultimate, but the general game, just the way it feels, the mechanics, the roster, the amount of stages there are, the amount there is to do. Like, I can nitpick at stuff. I can say I don't like World of Light that much, but I don't think that really takes away from my opinion of the core game. I think Smash Ultimate is just so fun. And I could spend hours just playing as Ridley. I could spend like a whole day playing as Ridley. And there's
awesome.
like 70 more characters to play as. Yeah, so the core fighting I think is better than it's ever been.
Oh, I mean, I totally agree with that. You just brought up a really interesting point, because this came up on a Kind of Funny discussion that was on recently, the Kind of Funny Gamescast, I believe, where someone had asked both me and Tim or Tim and I should say, where they asked if, with World of Light being looked upon a little bit harshly by some critics, should that affect the overall review? Tim was of the opinion that it should, that no matter what, that taints the game. My stance hasn't always been, is if it's optional and I can ignore it, no, it doesn't affect it at all. For me, Smash has always been a multiplayer first game. That's the only part that, to me, that it truly needs to nail. And if it kills it, then hey, that's good enough for me. Don't get me wrong, I would love if World of Light were also great, but that doesn't affect my overall opinion of the game, because my overall opinion is based on the fun I can have with it, and the fun I can have with it is amazing. Like in multiplayer, like that's really all I need.
Yeah, let me bring up Resident Evil 4 a moment. So Resident Evil 4 has a lot of modes, and I think in terms of side content, Separate Ways is a brilliant side mode. But then there's also a Simon Ada, which is this non-canon just side mission. And I haven't played that in years, and I have no incentive to play that. And I'm perfectly fine just going about my ways, never playing a Simon Ada again. That doesn't affect my opinion of the game. I'm just going to keep playing Separate Ways, the main story, Mercenaries, that's all I need. So yeah, I don't think, if it's optional and you don't need to do it, I don't think that affects my opinion of the game. So yeah, World of Light, I think there's a great concept behind it, but it isn't that fun after a while. So I'm perfectly fine judging Smash Ultimate by its combat merits rather than sort of nitpicking at World of Light.
Right, and this is something we've talked about before where, reviews aren't one and done. Like, they're not, you can't just take a review and say, okay, it applies across the board and, I'm going to agree with everything. Like, you have to take into account, how do you play Smash Brothers? Do you play it as more of a single-player experience? If so, then yeah, maybe you should be worried about World of Light, and maybe that would color, what would otherwise be a good score for you, and you should consider that. But if, like Andre and all three of us in this discussion really, see it primarily as a multiplayer game and that's how you enjoy it, then yeah, I think it's completely acceptable to kind of, give World of Light less weight or no weight at all in the review.
Yeah, I guess to wrap it up here, I know we've already talked about the DLC before, but is there anything else you would like to see added to Smash through the form of updates, either free or paid? Is there any other changes you'd like them to make to the game? Besides buffing Mega Man, Ash.
Hey, they've already buffed Mega Man, so I can't complain too much. One thing I'll say that I would like to see, and this is almost kind of a too much of a great thing scenario, which is I love this soundtrack. It's amazing. There's so much music here. However, I have discovered recently that because of the change where you now get all of the franchise's music available in every stage for that franchise, for Mario stages, every Mario stage, I've got 85 songs to go through and set the rate for every Mario stage, and it's a dauntingly, multiple hour task, and I kind of wish there was just a way maybe to, copy the presets for one Mario stage over to the rest of the Mario stages, so you don't have to go, and set the rate for every single song and every single stage if you want to do that. And at the same time, I kind of wish there was maybe like a numerical value such that, okay, this is set at 60%, whereas this is set at 30%, whereas right now it's either rarely or often. And that doesn't really tell me as much. And that's the way it's always been, I get it, that's not anything new, but I would like to see some improvements made to the My Music system.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For me, I think this is the ultimate version of Smash, but we are still missing aspects of Smash that have always been in there, like Break the Target and Stage Builder, which originated in Brawl. That stuff isn't in Ultimate, and I think we're very likely to get that stuff as time goes on. And we're also probably likely to get some of the stages that didn't make the cut, because there aren't many of them. Like, there's only a couple of stages that aren't in this game.
Just finish it out. You're so close already. Just finish it out.
So close.
No, I was thinking about that because, for Smash 4's DLC, when we got the Super Mario Maker stage, they just threw in Pirate Ship as a really cool surprise, and that's like my favorite stage from Brawl. And they're like, hey, here's Pirate Ship, by the way, and I'm hoping they do that with the DLC here, where, they give us like Joker and we get the Persona stage, but then they're like, hey, did you miss Woolly World? Here's Woolly World. Hey, did you miss Jungle Hijinks? Here you go. Like, that would be really cool in my opinion.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I think it'd be really cool if they did a mix of paid content and free content. That way they'll maintain interest no matter how you play or how much you want to spend, and it'll keep people engaged. And maybe wouldn't it be something that's why not every stage is here? It's just because they're going to dole it out over time slowly.
That would be crazy.
I'd be fine with that. I just want my Tropical Freeze or my DKCR stage back, which is such a unique mechanic. Where's my 2-plane stage? I need that. So.
I guess stage.
We already have a 2-plane stage in Palo Wings, but...
But yeah, I'm right there with you. I really missed that stage. It was a really cool, specific mechanic for that stage. And I can't complain because we have 103 stages here.
Exactly.
Each. But I do miss the ones that didn't make the cut, and I would love to see them kind of just get thrown in there as kind of just a free gimme, like they did with Pirate Ship in Smash 4.
I would pay all the money, though, for a legit stage builder. Give me a proper, like, Mario Maker-like stage builder. We can reuse elements from other stages in the game. That would be cool. So, I don't think it's going to happen, but man, would that be great.
That would be pretty cool. I never used the stage builder all that much, but I appreciated that it was there for people who really enjoyed it, and I would like to see it come back for that reason.
Yeah. Speaking of stages, there's also some boss arenas in this game. There's a handful of bosses, and they all take place in very specific boss arenas. And I'd like to see a few of them adapted into real stages. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's a Ganon boss in this game. He's in the actual intro for Smash Ultimate, so I don't think that's a spoiler. But I want to see that as a stage. Like, that is such a cool arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really neat.
It would be neat, yeah. What if you could play in the tower as it's collapsing, even?
I love that so much, Andre.
That would be sick. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool, actually? The floors are changing constantly. It'd be like a crazier version of the Wrecking Crew stage, so...
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to point out really quickly was that just to kind of give it a chance and give it a go, I decided to play some handheld mode recently, and the game is surprisingly comfortable playing with the 2 Joy-Con in handheld mode. It looks great on the screen. Like, of course, for me, I'll live and die by the GameCube controller. That, for me, is the only one true way to play Smash. But in a pinch, like, I gotta say, like, I love the fact that you got the spirit board. You can dip in and get a couple of spirits, spend a couple of minutes doing that, and that's it. And the game feels great to play, and it looks great on the screen, which a lot of people had problems with Smash 3DS because of how uncomfortable it could be, and I totally hear that. But that's not the case here, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. And I do not miss the 3DS nub, like the little C nub.
Me neither.
Using a proper right analog stick is so good for handheld mode. And can I tell you guys a secret? I've been playing with a Pro controller.
What?
Get out! Get out!
Yeah,
get out of
you're
here!
Done here.
Yeah.
I started off with a GameCube controller, picked up the Pro. I haven't gone back.
My God.
I'm disgusted right now.
I don't even know you anymore, John. I mean,
HD Rumble feels good.
Well, that's a good point. Ash is all about the HD Rumble, so...
Yeah, and I have thought about that, and it does feel good when I'm playing it on handheld mode. I noticed that. I'm like, oh, the HD Rumble feels nice, but a GameCube controller feels much nicer, I have to say.
You just can't match the contours of that controller. It melts in your hand. It's
exactly.
It's magic. It's just pure magic. But hey, that's awesome. The Pro controller works, and I will admit that there are times where I wish I didn't have to deal with the wires. I guess I could use a Wavebird, but then you have to deal with... syncing it and matching up the wireless channels and batteries and whatnot. So yeah. I want to end on a really high note here. What is your favorite thing about Smash Brothers Ultimate? Your overall favorite thing, if you had to narrow it down to one, what is it? Go.
Oh my god.
Man, I mean, for me, it's got to be the roster. At the end of the day, I love Smash's gameplay. I love playing Smash, but at the end of the day, it is, for me, about the crossover element. I just feel like a fanboy, but I love seeing characters like Mario and Sonic and Mega Man and Pac-Man together alongside, Simon Belmont and Link and Pikachu and Kirby. That element of Smash Brothers has not worn off on me, and the fact that Sakurai was able to compile this, frankly, it is the greatest fighting game roster of all time. I don't care what anyone says, this is the best roster of all time. It's insane what he was able to get together, and that to me is what Smash is all about, and every time I see that character select screen load up and I see these gaming icons from across different companies and throughout Nintendo together in this game, I just get goosebumps. It's awesome, and for me, that is my favorite aspect of Smash still.
It's not just the fighters, they've given them so much respect. Like, every single classic mode feels tailored towards every single character, and it makes sense within the context of that character. And like, they've done stuff with these characters before in previous Smash games, but it feels like the whole focus of Smash Ultimate is on the 70 character roster. And and even in Spirits, like they've taken all these other characters, like there's thousands of Spirits in this game, and they've somehow matched their personalities with each and every single fighter, and it works.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like Smash Ultimate is the perfect respect to this industry. They've done so well, just not only like bringing this roster of such like a high magnitude, but every single character in here feels like respected.
Yeah, it's not just a celebration of Smash. It feels like a celebration of gaming in general. Like, the Spirits really do tie into that, and they did it. Like, it's such a cool idea again, and the thought that went into each one, making the battles actually feel representative of that character. It's brilliant. So, for me though, if I had to narrow it down, I guess I could go the easy route. Say the roster. No offense, Ash.
Rude.
I think I'm gonna go a little bit more granular here. King K Rool, baby. I love that guy. He is just so fun to use. I love as part of it, I love the attention to detail that went into him. There's even this really cool detail that I don't think too many people have noticed. I only noticed when I was playing around in slow motion, where if you after you use your recovery, and once he's falling back down to the ground, he actually flaps his arms like he did in DKC3 when he's jumping around.
Oh, that's great.
It is so great. I love it.
That's
so yeah.
Cool.
So King K Rool, on a broader note, like, yeah, just a general crossover angle and celebration. Like, everything you guys said, you totally hit on it. Smash Brothers Ultimate really is the ultimate form of Smash, I think. I mean, based on what it's been so far, they did a great job with it. And I guess my only real complaint is I just wish there were more stages. There's more new stages, I should say, rather.
Right.
There are enough stages. I just wish there were a few more new ones, but we'll get that with the DLC at least. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we got 4 in the package, 5 coming DLC, so 9 in total. That's not so bad.
Yeah. And that's not counting any potential freebies we get.
That's true. Hopefully that's the case. So.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I think we're about done here. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to all those in the description below, and also click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that, we're about done here, and I think we probably are finally done with the weekly discussions properly. But you never know. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.